This week's Brew with the coach's question comes from Robert Williams. Right, this is quite a long question, and I'm glad we've got three coaches here because I haven't got a clue how to answer this one. But Robert asks, what is their experience advice for those who are training but have hard physical jobs? Most info out there is based around get off your butt, less sedentary life type assumptions. But for those of us who spend the day doing heavy work, that doesn't apply. For example, I lift and climb ladders and pull hoses all day, so find it really difficult to keep my weight down, mostly because I tend towards building muscle easily. He tries to train before work, but we have a 1-year-old, so that is tricky. So at 5 or 6 a.m., but have to be careful to leave enough in the tank for work. He ran the Glencoe Skyline last year, but DNF'd at the infamous checkpoint 9. He was in great shape, but he just didn't have the steep climbing speed. This year, he's trying to build more zone 2 sessions and slim down with the name of a Bob Graham round in September, but will be interested in what the coaches say and any experience they have training people with physical jobs. Working less is an option, unfortunately, since apples cost £13 here the other day. Wow, that is a big question.
Do you think Robert is a fireman?
I think so, yeah.
I've got a lovely picture of Robert while we talk about this.
Yeah, Russell, how would you, you used to have a physical job, so yeah, if you could go first with this one.
Okay, hi, Rob. I used to be a builder. I was a builder for 3 years. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for someone to ask this question because I have so much experience from that difficulty of juggling manual labor and then running. They don't always marry up really well. And the weight, which you mentioned first, is a massive issue. And I did try for a while to keep to race weight while I was working as a builder, and I just realized I couldn't do it. Race weight is like, you're pretty fragile and vulnerable, and I felt the cold more. I get bumps and bruises. Everything just would sting and hurt more. I also found that I was getting more colds. So I would normally eat a lot while I was building and laboring, and I'd not really weigh myself, and I was probably about half a stone, nearly a stone heavier. Weight does come into performance, and there's just no way around that. If you want to perform at a high level, then you are going to feel an extra half a stone or a stone, or if you're in America, you would be in stone. So I would try and drop the weight a few weeks before a main race. So if I had like a goal race, an A race, then 2 weeks before, hopefully I was shirking my work a little bit and taking annual leave, and so that I didn't have the same demands. But I would never go into caloric deficit while I was working, because life's hard enough. You don't want to get injured or ill. So I'd always make sure I was eating loads. I'd try and keep it healthy, lots of protein. But yeah, just a few weeks before, I would cut out a few. I was probably eating like 5 meals a day, and I would just cut that back. And I dropped that weight, and then a few days before the race, obviously carbo loading and fill those glycogen stores back up. So that was the thing on the weight. Yeah, I wouldn't try to stay to race weight while you're doing a physical job. With me, the way that I did it was periodization. So I'd really recommend that. And the athletes that I coach that are laboring, I could only really train like really hard while I was laboring that intensely about half of my life. So I was running for marathons. I'd have a spring marathon and autumn marathon, and I would do like a 3-month block, and I would get my family and my friends behind me, and I'd let them all know, okay, these 3 months I'm going to be training hard, and I would put some red lines around it. I was thinking consistency, volume, intensity. So I had to be consistent every week, even on the tough weeks. I had to go out and get the runs done. But it was only 12 weeks, and I had a 2-week taper, so it was only really 10 weeks. So I was just hanging on, working hard and periodizing. So for those 3 months, I would be training really hard, and there was no way around it. It was tough. The rest of the time, I would have holidays and then just keep ticking over, and then, be a lot more of a balanced person. So yeah, the consistency. So that means like eating a lot, sleeping a lot, and then volume. I was running like a minimum of 80 miles a week. And if I could, and if I was having a week at work, I could push that up to like 100. And I think the most I ever managed was like 105. That was really tough. And something that helped me a lot was to read lots of marathoners in the UK in the 80s. They were working full time, physical jobs, and they were running these kind of miles. So I would read their books. There was a guy in the 90s who's still a coach now. I'll get in touch with him, just try and get any info, from these guys at how they were doing it. So yeah, it's just making sure you know what it takes before you start on a big build-up like that. If the race is really important to you, it's no beer, no Netflix, no friends. Your family hate you. Your builder mates hate you. You don't see your kids. I was speaking to my wife the other day. I asked her if she could keep the dishes out of the sink, and she said, "You left me in the sink for 3 years, so I'm still paying things back that I cashed in on."
Totally relate to that conversation.
Oh, God. Yeah, she was like a single mum for those times when I was training hard. But it was worth it for me. Maybe not for her, but that was the fittest I was ever in my life. I was so strong, as well as having the aerobic engine, and I just couldn't do that now. You don't get the same kind of strength, being in the gym for an hour as you do just being out working 8-10 hours a day. And the last thing I would say is the little lifts. Like if you're doing a lot of lifts, John Downs, a guy ran 150 miles a week, and he was a 13-minute 5K runner, excellent runner, but also a builder. And he did his back in, and it was the little lifts, and he was just not setting his back straight. So obviously, if it's a heavy lift, you set your back and you take it serious. But it's all those little ones like the toolbox, or if it's you and it's like a heavy ladder or whatever, just make sure you're setting your back, because it's those ones that get your back. But yeah, it was worth it, and I would really recommend it. And yeah, I've got builder friends, and they're running really well, and it's just that the hierarchy of priorities. Consistency is the number one thing. Just hustling the weeks when it's hard at work, and then making hay when the sun shines. Volume, and then intensity. Like if you can get some faster stuff done that's faster than race pace.
I like the idea as well, as you sort of alluded on it there, is like having a really structured plan. There's no like, even this sort of in Rob's lifestyle, it sounds like there's no give or take. This is when you do your training. I wonder if you can train to and from work as well, Robert, or you can train after work before you go home. Might be a really good idea as well. The other thing to look at is what your job is giving you as well. It's giving you so much strength and endurance, so you don't need to focus on that much as well. I find it funny that you struggled up the steeper climbs. I think that's fuel related more than fitness related. So it might be worth looking at your fueling during your racing as well, because I would have thought you would be flying up those steep.
Yeah, up and down ladders all day.
Strength that you've got. As always with clients, we always say, like, just you've got to be able to do what you can do. Don't worry about what anyone else can do. And consistency is key, like Russell said, just day in, day out. I wouldn't worry as well, if you're doing a massive amount of volume at work, is almost back off from any intensity and just focus on the running and the volume and doing something every day, and let the body weight take care of itself. And it's the weight that is meant to be to enable you to do your job and to run. You've just got to get the right balance. You sound like a great guy, and you sound like you're really driven. And I think writing a plan, sticking it on the fridge and saying, these are the 3 months I'm going to focus on this, and this is the race I'm going to do, is going to be the key. Let us know how you got on. Trish, you got anything else to add to Fireman Roberts?
Oh, Fireman Robert. I would just say in regards to completely agree in terms of periodizing. I mean, I used to be in the army and play lots of different sports as well as run. And the thing I found that worked well is, for me, is you've got to have sometimes quality over quantity is better. So making sure you're having a set training plan in terms of knowing specifically what you're going to be doing in those sessions. So, if you're struggling on the ascents, then maybe, your specificity, you need to really kind of get out there and concentrate. If you can only do 3 runs a week, make sure one of those runs is on that kind of, or once a month in your block or whatever, getting out to that terrain and doing that kind of stuff. But when you're up against it and you're doing lots of different stuff, which sometimes can detract from running, you've got to have the set times and get that quality over the quantity. I think that's more important when it's hard work like you've got at the moment.
If weight is an issue, I don't know what Robert diet is, what the quality of his nutrition is. But yeah, if weight is an issue, I would definitely try and look at foods that were kind of nutrient dense as opposed to the burgers and chips which you crave. Because sometimes, if you're having a big bowl of veggies, you just physically can't eat that amount. While if you had 2 Snickers or something, you probably got the calories from such a massive healthy, 2 Snickers. But yeah, pretty much echo everything you guys said.
Cheers, Rob.
Yeah.
Thanks, Robert. Hope that helped.